Each and every Monday is $9 Monday at both wagertalk.com and sportsmemo.com, when all daily picks packages are priced at only $9, including 5% best bets, normally priced at $35. As an added bonus, any picks packages loaded early for Overnight Tuesday or action during the week will also be priced at $9 until midnight on Monday. So make sure to take advantage of getting these $25 and $35 picks for only $9 before the clock strikes 12 and they return to regular price.
Hey guys, happy Monday, happy $9 Monday right here at wagertalk.com. This is Puck Time. Of course, I am Andrew McGinnis and I have Carmine Bianco with me. Today's going to be a fun episode of Puck Time because, well, there's some earlier games to break down. So if you're tuning in live, you're going to get this information. You're going to beat the line moves, hopefully beat some of this odds movement, and hopefully get the best of these numbers. Of course, today, the games we are breaking down on the show, you have the Ducks visiting the Panthers. That's a 1 p.m. Eastern start, guys. Philadelphia Flyers at Calgary taking on the Flames, 4 p.m. Eastern start. Then we have the Jets visiting the Rangers at MSG, and the New York Islanders and Pittsburgh Penguins going head-to-head for the second time in just 5 days. Looking forward to breaking these games down after a pretty fun weekend. So, Carm, we'll go to you, man. How are things, and what's new in your world?
What's new in my world? It's a holiday today, which is great. It's different holidays. Andrew, where you are, I believe it's Heritage Day. Where I am, we're obviously both in Canada, north of the border. It's Family Day here, so everyone gets a holiday. And then, of course, south of the border, it's President's Day, which is really Washington's birthday. They just adopted the name President's Day. It's not actually called President's Day. It's actually Washington Day. Andrew, not sure if you knew that, a little bit of American history for you, but now Congress never changed it. So it's always been Washington's birthday, but they celebrate it on the third Monday of February, which obviously coincides with Washington's birthday on February 22nd. So happy President's Day to everyone. South of the border, enjoy some 1 p.m. hockey games, and then some 4 p.m. hockey games, where I'm talking all Eastern time, of course, and then some 7 p.m. games to close it out. A lot of hockey, really good hockey weekend for me. I always mention the good with the back. Andrew, I told you Saturday I got absolutely slapped in soccer. I think 3 plays in the morning, and it was a bloodbath for anyone who took the favorites in the Premier League. All of the favorites either went down or did not cover. A lot of big dogs won on the weekend, but NHL Friday 5-0, Saturday I think a 3-2 day with 5% winner on the Flyers and Vancouver over the total, and then a 3-1 day yesterday. So NHL has been going well, and hopefully can keep that little run going through this whole week.
I love it, man. Yeah, you've been running really hot, Carm, pretty consistently this year in the NHL, and those player props, man, as well. We're going to dive into more of those today, but those are definitely playing a factor. I feel like sometimes if we have a small night or even a 50-50 night as far as our sides and totals, those props can really have our back and build those bankrolls, especially in some of the games, kind of like the early one, actually, Carm, with the Anaheim Ducks. I mean, you've talked about betting against them. We look at some guys on that team. There's all kinds of different opportunities. And for me, Carm, look, I had a pretty good weekend as far as my action is concerned. Pretty much besides the Winnipeg Jets blowing their lead yesterday, I had a big play on them against the New Jersey Devils. So I'm 7-1 my last 8 games, 9-2 last 11. And, well, the 7-1, that one loss is the 5% pick. So I'm on a really good run, but it kind of is a disappointing note to come into the show here on Puck Time. But it's just one play. So 7-1 last 8. Really enjoy the card today. We'll try and build off it and move forward. But you hit a 5%, and I'm happy for you. I wish I could have followed up and hit one myself, but I'm still happy with this 7-1 run. So we'll try and keep it going.
Yeah, man. Listen, your long-term clients are going to be happy. Anyone who even picks up a week of games, like if you see like a 5, just take 7 days. 7 days is only like, I think like $69 or whatever. The 5% itself is like $35. But if you go 7-1 and your only loser is a 5%, I'll take the 7-1 any day, because it could, think about how would you feel if your only play was a 5% winner and you lost 7 other games and you went 1-7.
Exactly.
You wouldn't feel great.
Yeah.
So it is about it is a marathon. It's not a sprint. At the end of the year is what really matters, and it's why sort of we advocate the longer term packages, and the girls are always in the office. The ladies are always in the office. You can always email them, and they'll put together a good deal for you and stuff. So yeah, man, 4 games, 4 early games, really. If you're on the West Coast, they're really early games for you, but 1 o'clock games. Andrew, let's get to it, man.
Let's do it. Yeah, let's start things off with our first game we're going to break down. Let's go to the Anaheim Ducks and Florida Panthers here. We have seen a 7 in this game, and the odds are still changing as far as the numbers and the prices in this one. But Florida minus 425, current money line favorites. Anaheim plus 325. Anaheim plus 1.5. How often do you really see this, Carm, where the plus 1.5 is a plus 145 price, minus 1.5 is minus 170? Huge price here on the Florida Panthers. But I'll tell you what, when you take a look at this matchup, it's hard these days to really predict the Anaheim Ducks are going to do anything special. A lot of their wins coming against teams like Arizona and Chicago. When they play anybody else, it's not pretty. The good news about them is that sometimes they actually are covering their puck lines. Like they've actually had some games where they've kept it within 1 goal. But when I look at this Florida team, this is a team that is going to be coming in motivated here. They just lost the game 7-3. So I always say this, when you have a team going into a game, especially at home against a bottom feeder club, I think we can both agree, Carm, it's a lot better when they're off a loss like the one that Florida's off right now against Nashville. Nashville scored as many goals in 1 game as they usually do in 10 games combined. Very uncharacteristic for them, which leads me to think that Florida will be motivated as they approach this game. I'll keep it simple here and go with the first period puck line at minus a half goal. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, it is. This is quite possibly, Andrew, one of the toughest games to play, like trying to pick a side or a total or what have you. But it's mainly because look at the way the numbers is. I think we posted, about 7s, and there's no way I could take the under in this game. You can only take the over as far as that goes. But even if you look at the first period total. And I thought, okay, well, maybe the first period total is at 2, and we can take the first period total. And the first period total is at 2.5, although it's shaded to the under. I think it's like minus 150 on the under 2.5. But you look at this, and there's so many differing angles here. Number one is, I normally like to take or I like to look at fading a team in their first back off a road trip, which obviously suits Florida in this spot. And it is Bobrovsky confirmed in goal. We don't know who is it for Anaheim, but Anaheim is absolutely terrible. Their last 4 games, they've lost their last 4 games. They've allowed 26 goals. This is a team that is not playing well. They're losing by 2 or more every game, which is why that minus 1.5 is so high. The thing is, and I got a comment on our video. I think it was from Friday. I think it was from one of the guys, Nick, and he's like, Carm, when are you going to give it up with the Florida Panthers? And it's true. If you watch the Panthers in that game against Nashville, and I watched that game, they're just trying to outscore teams. Their defense is non-existent, and they left Bobrovsky out to dry, but he didn't look good either. And I was surprised it took so long to pull him from that game and get Spencer Knight into it. It's almost similar to what you see in Edmonton, where it's a team that is just offensive and doesn't know how to play defense. No lead is safe in Edmonton, apparently, as well either. Andrew, this is a tough one. I think you got to look at player props in this one, and there's a few player props that you can look at in this one. I think looking at let me just bring up a couple player props I like. The Ekblad one. Ekblad earlier this morning is 3.5, and he had a bad game. He didn't even have a shot on goal. in that game against Nashville after having some really good numbers. And I released them as a play last week. No shots on goal. And today he was 3.5 even money on the over, and now he's taking money. He's minus 120, and I think that's going to continue to go up. It'll probably go to 125, 130, maybe 135. I like the Ekblad shots on goal prop, but then there's some other players for Florida. Sometimes that's the only way you can look at it. Matthew Tkachuk is overpriced at $1.65. You can't take it. Connor Verhaeghe, why not? Over 3.5 as well, too, minus 120. He's another guy that gets a ton of shots on goal. If you think Florida's going to bounce back from that absolutely flat performance and lay the wood to Anaheim, and take the player props in this one. The one thing, Andrew, that scares me about this is, as bad as Anaheim were in those 4 games, you go back maybe a couple weeks and they went on the road and they beat Columbus. That's one thing. They went to Arizona, they beat Arizona. But then they went to Colorado and beat Colorado 5-3. Maybe this team needs to get away from, what's their arena called? Is it the Honda Center still? Maybe they need to get away from that arena and hit the road. Would it surprise me if they beat Florida today? Absolutely. Would it shock me? It wouldn't, just because if Florida just has no defense right now. I don't know what's wrong with this team. So I'm going player props, guys. I'm sorry. I'm not going to take Florida in this game. I'm not going to lay the minus 1.5 with the wood. I'm just going to take those 2 player props and go from there.
Great stuff, Carm. Lots of great picks there and good info. I think you look at these big favorites and you talk about that stat that Ralph had for us in the chart. I think you were discussing it the last time on the show, Carmen. We kind of saw it come to life. You know, when the Maple Leafs played Montreal, big favorites, they cash in. The next day, they go to Chicago and lose outright to them. And obviously, this is all about picking your spots. You know, when you have these big favorites on the money line, but even the puck line might not be as inviting. One thing that I've kind of gotten people on as well is the team total in the first period over 1.5. It might seem like kind of a funny wager to make at first, but when you've got a team total at 3.5 at a really big minus price, but you can get them over 1.5 in the first period at plus 125 is quite intriguing as well. But yeah, the one guy I wanted to mention there, Carm, was Carter Verhaeghe. So I'm with you on him. I think he's been a great guy as far as shots on goal. He's someone I've got my eye on. He's hit in 8 of his last 10 games. And as we always talk about, sometimes with the juice, with these shots on goal props, it's okay. You know, like even McKinnon, I'm pretty sure he was pretty juiced last night at over 4.5 shots, and he was still heavily juiced. You know, some of these guys, you're going to get these bad numbers, but it's nice that with a guy like Verhaeghe, you're actually still getting a pretty good price. So I do like that, and I will be betting him tonight. It should be a pretty good money-making opportunity with the props, not just the sides and totals in this game, but also the props here. Let's jump into Philadelphia and Calgary, Carm. Get your thoughts on this one. Another game that you could definitely make some money on with some props. But what do you have for us here, Flyers in Alberta?
Yeah, you know, the interesting thing, I think, Andrew, in this one is it's a 4 o'clock game, so I think we have to keep an eye on who the goalies are, whether it's going to be Markstrom. It should be Markstrom, obviously, for Calgary, but they list Carter Hart right now as expected, but it could very well, because they play tomorrow in Edmonton, and Sandstrom is listed for tomorrow. They could flip those 2 goalies and start Sandstrom today and Hart tomorrow. At the end of the day, I don't think it makes a difference. I had the over in that Flyers Vancouver game, and a lot of it had to do with number one. Vancouver had gone over the total 16 of their last 19 games. Now 17 of 20. But also the Flyers, after a really good defensive running, we saw a lot of low-scoring Flyer games. They seem to have packed it in, and I get it. Tortorella gets his team to play, but at some point, these guys are just running out of steam. And the game that they played in Seattle wasn't a good one. And I'm watching this game, and even while I'm watching this game, I thought to myself, there's no way this game is going to go over the total. The Flyers just don't look, they look lifeless. And then you look at the final stats, and the Flyers actually had 37 shots on goal in that game, even though they lost and the game goes over the total. I'm thinking along the same lines here. I'm thinking along the lines of the totals at 6 and not 6.5. And I like the over here. I think the Flyers defensively are not looking very good. I think Calgary really needs to get not only a win, but a big win. Because you look at that race in the West, and Calgary could be on the outside looking in at the end of the day. These as well too. They're just not playing well. They somehow got that win against the Rangers. They scored 2 in the first minute, and then they get nothing again until it goes to overtime. Give me the over here, Andrew. I think this goes over 6 today. An afternoon matinee, you call it, and we get a big score line here: 5-2, 5-3, Calgary.
I wouldn't mind seeing some pond hockey, and I think these two teams can give it to us. That's for sure. I was shocked by that final score, Carm, of that game. I mean, the Calgary played in against New York. I mean, how are there 2 goals in the first handful of minutes? Like, it was late here on the Far East. I'm getting winding down my night, watching the game. I'm always looking forward to these late night games, though. I thought it was going to be a great rivalry type game, 2 different teams, and after I saw 2 quick goals, I was like, wow, we're going to be in for a really good game. And then there was like no goals for 50 minutes or something like that, 40 minutes. It was like 2 goals happen, and then Calgary doesn't really do anything else. I think a storyline worth mentioning in this game, and as much as I have to be reminded sometimes, this is not a sports talk show. It is a sports betting show. The agent stuff with Jonathan Huberdeau. I'm sure you heard about that stuff, Carl. I mean, Jonathan Huberdeau even said after the game in his interview, I guess Alan Walsh kind of lit a fire under my ass, for lack of better words. He motivated him pretty much. That's his agent pretty much talking about how the agent tweeted out the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over again and expecting something new to happen. And it's kind of a jab at Daryl Sutter and what he was doing. And then Huberdeau goes out and has his best game he's had. So for player props, I would keep an eye on Jonathan Huberdeau, but we got to give a shout out to Andy Lang, because I think that he's probably paying his bills with the Tyler Toffoli prop, because this guy has hit 9 of the last 10 games, and he just keeps on hitting no matter what the number might be. But yeah, guys, Calgary 6-1, their last 7 games against Philadelphia. They're playing extremely well against the bottom feeders. They do have a good record against some of these teams that they should be beating. So ultimately, when it comes down to it, I think that game for Calgary against New York was a big one, especially catching a really red-hot New York team, beating them and even having to go against them. I played Calgary in the first period there. Even though it was a difficult situation for New York to be in, it was still a great spot. I'm going to go with Calgary at -130, over 3.5 of their team total here, Carm. So I like your over, but I'm just going to narrow in on this Calgary team, hopefully, to start clicking and get their act together. After pretty much I tweeted all kinds of bad stuff about them last week, here I am taking their team total. How much things can change, man.
You know what? I completely missed that team total in reviewing numbers early this morning. So I actually like that team total 3.5, especially because of the fact I think it'll there's a very good chance it's a higher scoring game. So with that in tune, I don't think it's a higher scoring game because Philadelphia scores a bunch of goals. I think it's the other way around. We'll see how it plays out. I'm telling you, between now and the March 3rd a trade deadline, we're going to. Last year was kind of quiet. I think this year we're going to see some moves because there's a lot of teams jockeying for position. Obviously, we saw Toronto make the Ryan O'Reilly trade, and all I heard for the last 4 or 5 days from all my friends up here who are all Toronto fans, like they're literally taping off downtown for the parade already. These guys are planning a parade because they signed Ryan O'Reilly. Well, let's see what those 2 goalies do for you come playoff time with Samsonov and Matt Murray and Joseph Woll. We'll see. At least need another goalie. I like Samsonov, but they need another goalie. It's just like the Edmonton Oilers. One of the guys from Circa, one of their traders, I think he does their golf stuff. He puts out their golf lines. He tweeted out a couple things about Edmonton saying all you need from an Edmonton goalie is to be somewhat normal or mediocre or whatever, but you're not even getting that from Jack Campbell. I don't think you could put any goalie into that Edmonton system the way they're playing, and that goalie is going to have a good season. That the team is just not playing defense. I joked about the no lead is safe in Edmonton. The Rangers come back from what, 3 down, 4-1 after one or something like that. Gerard Gallant sticks with Shesterkin in goal, and they end up winning that game. Yesterday in Colorado, same thing. 2-goal lead a couple times. They can't hold it. They need to play a better defense in Edmonton. But this trade deadline, there's going to be players moving. Andrew, you saw the news of Jonathan Toews, right? It doesn't look like he's going to get moved for Chicago because he's still suffering from long COVID, and he's worried about his health, so he's taking time off. So he's not going to get moved. Patrick Kane wants to get moved. We're going to see. I'm more in tune with where the goalie is going to go because I want to see if Arizona moves Vejmelka. He wouldn't be a bad one to move or a bad one to pick up for a couple teams. We'll see what happens with this trade line approaching. But some of these teams need goalies. Some of these teams need defense, and there's some players out there. So we'll see what happens.
It's incredible, Carm, about some of these teams that certainly have the scoring, but their defense just isn't there. And then when it comes to the playoffs, people wonder what's happening, and it's these defensive breakdowns that really lead to the opportunities. Like we'll talk about it tomorrow, probably, or Wednesday on the show. But I mean, Carm, I watched that Montreal game through the entire game on Saturday night. Okay, obviously it was an AHL team against one of the best teams in the NHL. It was a mismatch, but there are so many 2-on-1s in favor of Montreal that if that was Tampa Bay, they cash in on those chances. I think that both Edmonton and Toronto need a defenseman. That's for sure. Not just a forward, but Ryan O'Reilly is a great pickup, but I honestly don't even think scoring was the problem for them. It was defense. But we'll see if any moves. All I want to say though is that I like teams are making these moves early, Carm, and not waiting until the day of the trade deadline. It's nice to see that in the NHL these days.
I will add one more thing before the producer says in my ear, this is a pick show, not a trade deadline show, because I know he's thinking it right now. But true. See, he just said true. I get picking up Ryan O'Neill. It's a good pickup because if you look at last season's first round exit, or any season's first round exit, but last year's, where did the Leafs lose it? They didn't lose it because of how they played defensively. They didn't lose it because of their goaltending, and they didn't lose it because of their the Matthews line or the Tavares line. They lost that series because Tampa Bay's bottom 6 forwards were so much better than Toronto's, and they outscored them. The crucial goals, the important goals. Toronto's bottom 6 were horrible in the playoffs last year, and Tampa Bay's came out and played absolutely phenomenal. When you look at their bottom 6, those 2 lines, that team outscored Toronto and won the games for them. So the Leafs are trying to strengthen their bottom 6. So, and picking up a guy like O'Reilly is a good one at that. But we'll see moving forward. We have 2 more games to talk about, Andrew.
Yes, let's get into it here with Winnipeg visiting New York here, taking on the Rangers at Madison Square Garden. Of course, the Rangers, one of the hottest teams in the National Hockey League right now. Even off that loss against the Calgary Flames, it was still a very competitive game, one that they fought until the very end pretty much and only lost that one by 1 goal. They find themselves as minus 180 favorites here this evening. Winnipeg plus 155, total at 6 as we speak here. Don't really expect too much movement in that one. As far as some little trends to take a look at, though, the total has gone under in 6 of last 8 games for Winnipeg, but it's gone over in 6 of last 7 for the New York Rangers. What's interesting, Carm, is that the total has gone over in 6 of last 7. I'm pretty sure that's all the games they've played since they picked up Vladimir Tarasenko. I could be off on that by a game or 2, but he's certainly added to their roster. Look, guys, I mean, you take a look at New York and what they were able to do on that West Coast road trip. I mean, taking on Vancouver, taking on Edmonton, and even prior to that, defeating Carolina and Seattle and Vancouver. they went on a huge run. And of course, you can call it a flat spot when they gave up 2 goals early to Calgary, but Calgary was also a motivated team too. And when I look at this game, I think that New York back at home will be satisfied, happy with that big win streak they gathered together. And despite the back-to-back, I'm seeing value here on Winnipeg. I liked them yesterday. And you know what? I'm disappointed that I lost that play. I hate losing 5% plays for my clients and customers, but I actually think Winnipeg deserved a better result. I actually am one of those people that am not going to just bash on the team that lost a pick for me. I think they played well. I think they deserve better. Their star players will be pissed off going into this game today, and I feel like the star players will show up. And the goaltending situation, sure, it might not be Hellebuck, but they still have a great backup. So give me the plus money here, Carm, plus 155, fading the Rangers on a Monday here at Madison Square Garden. I'll take the Winnipeg Jets. What do you have for us, Carm?
Fading the Rangers on President's Day in New York, Andrew. No, listen, I get it. I get it as well, too. It's the first one. It's the first game back for the Rangers as well, too. And you're catching Winnipeg on a back-to-back. But I'm just wondering about, I actually wrote down earlier this morning taking Winnipeg first period plus 125. Sometimes those teams coming back off those road trips, the legs aren't normally there in the first game in the first period. So we'll see if that actually happens or not. Like, listen, it's Riddick in goal tonight, or it should be Riddick in goal, and his numbers have been good. If you look at his numbers since early or even mid-January, 4-1 win, allows 1 goal, 5-3 win in Philly, comes on in relief in another game, and then his last couple games, 3-1 and 3-2 victories. So he's been playing well for him. It's not always Hellebuck and then somebody else. Riddick has been good enough. I kind of like him off that disappointing third period yesterday to bounce back here. I don't know if they're going to win the game or not. I'll leave that one up to you, but I think taking plus 125 in the first period might not be a bad play here. So especially on that, as I mentioned, the Rangers first back off a road trip. It's worked well for me throughout the season. So why go away from something that works? Obviously, it's situational at best sometimes. But like I said, if Winnipeg had won yesterday, I'd probably be looking in a different thing. But they played extremely well for 40 minutes and then didn't play well in the third period. And I think they bounced back here. And if you remember that game where the Rangers were playing well, went to Winnipeg, and Winnipeg weren't playing well at the time, and Winnipeg pretty much dominated that start to finish, beat the Rangers 4-1 in Winnipeg. So I can see them doing it again here. Maybe not for the game, but at least the first period. Give me the Winnipeg Jets first period plus 125.
Hey, first period, second period, third period, full game. Let's go Jets. I'll take the Jets any period you want to give me them. Hopefully for a great game for them. And hopefully they can stay out of the box today. Penalties were a pretty big issue yesterday. Hopefully that can not be an issue today in their game. Obviously, it's a big game going up against the Rangers. Hopefully they can get it done. Speaking of big games, the Islanders are in Pittsburgh tonight, taking on the Pittsburgh Penguins after these teams played just, I think, a few short days ago. And, you know, you really take a look at the standings, Carm, and we've talked about it so many times that I don't even want to keep repeating myself. But Carm and I have made it very clear that we don't really like the format in the NHL for the playoffs. And, you know, when you look at this right now, the Islanders plus 120, Pittsburgh minus 140, the number has moved. It opened up earlier around a minus 130, I believe, or even shorter than that. But this is actually one of those games, Carm, which is kind of exciting for us to actually be able to take a look at it and look in the standings and find out that both these teams currently sit with 63 points. And the matchups you have within your division looking for that wild card spot are extremely huge. And you can look at DraftKings right now or FanDuel, and you can look at odds to make the playoffs or to miss the playoffs. And I'll tell you what, it was a big favorite position for the Penguins to make the playoffs. And that number has slowly gotten smaller and smaller and gone down and gone down and gone down as people seem to be losing faith in this team. Obviously, it was a wild game the last time these two teams met, Carm. What do you think happens in this one tonight?
Well, let's start by saying raise your hand if you released Pittsburgh to miss the playoffs 10 days ago or whatever when I mentioned it. Them and Washington were both like plus 270 and plus 310 to miss the playoffs. And I have to believe one of the two is going to miss the playoffs as long as the Islanders don't choke or Florida keeps winning. You look at Andrew, just to mention real quickly, you look at the race in the East, and it's absolutely unbelievable because we were talking about Johnny Detroit on the weekend. But you've got the Islanders right now in that 8th spot at 63 with Pittsburgh, like you mentioned. Washington 62, Florida 62, the Sabres at 60, Detroit at 60. And both Detroit and Buffalo have games in hand on the teams in front of them, 4 and even 5 games in hand. And then the Ottawa Senators have thrown themselves into the playoff race as well, too, with 58 points. So they're only 5 points back. You can't discount them either at this point. When you look at this game, though, the Islanders won both games in New York. They're going to play 2 games in Pittsburgh to close out this season. Obviously, one goes tonight. I actually think Pittsburgh's the right play tonight. The Islanders won those 2. Pittsburgh plays a lot better at home. They really blew that game against the Isles, losing 5-4. They outshot them 44-28 in that game, and allowed the Isles to get back in that game and eventually win that game. That's on them. They need to get their goaltending, of course, worked out as well, too, because we don't know what's happening with Tristan Jarry. Casey DeSmith is only going to hold up for so long. He's being held together with duct tape as well, too. They need to make a move to get a goalie in there, or else even if they make the playoffs, they're a first-round exit team no matter who they play. But I like Pittsburgh in this spot tonight. I think it's going to make my card. I already have a card out with the early games, but I think this is going to make my late card. I do like Pittsburgh in this spot, so give me Pittsburgh minus 140.
Carm, would you agree that there's like not even, of course, just with the actual numbers and the standings, but like from your opinion on these teams, that there's a massive drop off after the top 6 teams in the East? Because when I look at the schedule, or when I look at these rosters, it's like it's not even close. I mean, you've got Boston, Toronto, Tampa, Carolina, New Jersey, and then the Rangers, and then it's Pittsburgh, New York, Washington, Florida. There's a big drop off after those top 6 teams. I honestly don't see any wild card team even being able to compete anyway once they get to the playoffs. I like to be that guy that hopes we can see an upset, but even when they get to the playoffs, I don't care who it is. It's probably not going to be pretty.
No, hey, listen, I heard a good point during one of the telecasts, I think on the weekend, and it was that when you're looking at first round upsets, look at teams, not the teams that it's going to upset, the ones that are going to get upset. Look at teams that fall behind and are always playing from behind. The Florida Panthers last year, if you remember the Florida Panthers last year, how many times they fall behind 2 or 3 goals and their scoring bailed them out and they would get out of it. Last year, they should have got knocked out by the Washington Capitals in the playoffs last year. The Caps were that much better than them in the playoffs as a wild card team and almost upset the President's Trophy winners. They obviously went out in the next round when they met up with Tampa, but it's sort of the same thing. Look at teams. If you're looking at upsets, we could see some upsets, these bottom 7 or 8. How would you like to be in the West right now? And let's say you win your division and the Colorado Avalanche finish 7th or 8th, and you have to face the defending Stanley Cup champions in the first round of the playoffs as a division winner. That could very well happen this year. And whoever is the divisional winner that has to face Colorado will be an underdog in the series.
Yeah.
Plain and simple. So we will see some upsets this playoff season. I'm just curious to see what happens in the next couple weeks, because the minute the first goalie gets traded, there's going to be a huge domino effect because there's teams out there. There's at least 4 teams that need a goalie heading into the playoffs.
Yeah, look forward to it. Like I said, there have been a lot of big trades already, but still plenty of trades to be made here at the trade deadline. Guys, of course, on Mondays, we always try and bring some deals to you. $9 Mondays mean that you can get every single play at wagertalk.com for $9. So if you're new to watching us, we do appreciate you guys here on the app, on YouTube, listening via podcast form. But if you are interested in buying our favorite picks of the day, you can go to wagertalk.com. You can find Carmine. You can find myself. And all of our plays available today are listed for only $9. That's also applicable for everybody at the website. We also have a coupon code going today. That's PT100. PT100. Take $100 off an NHL season pass plus playoffs. So anybody interested in jumping on board, joining us for the rest of our NHL seasons. And again, you're getting all of the picks that we release to clients, all of our best bets that we release to clients. So, and Carm, I believe you have a great deal going as well. Let's hear about it.
Yeah, and then I want to get to obviously to our buy and sell segment because I love the buy and sell, and I'm really looking forward to your buy and sell this week. But Brian Leonard and I, the ladies in the office, put together this deal, 30-day NHL BOGO. You'll find it on either one of our pages or in the deal section on the Wager Talk site. You'll get 30 days of NHL from both of us for the cost of only one 30-day package. So you can pick that up at Wager Talk. So go out and buy it. And speaking of buy it, it's the buy and sell with my man, Andrew McInnes.
Oh, I was waiting for an intro there. My bad on that.
It's broken. It's
All
broken.
right, let's jump right into it. Let's jump
Eagle
right
season.
into it. Of course, this is the segment where we try and find a team to bet on for the near future and a team to bet against. And some people are probably going to laugh when they find out the buy team for this week. But we are going to go with the Calgary Flames, guys. This is a team that I know I've talked so much smack about them, whether it's on social media, whether it's here on Puck Time. But I do believe that they are better than they have been playing. We saw a great performance out of them on the weekend. There's a lot of talent to go through that team. I feel like the chemistry has taken a long time to develop, but if Huberdeau and Toffoli and these guys are on the same page, they can play very, very well. And you take a look at their schedule coming up. You've got teams like the Philadelphia Flyers, the Arizona Coyotes on deck, some games that are very winnable. And this is a Calgary Flames team that I think due to their recent losses, you're going to be able to get some really good prices when you back them. So one last time here, guys, we are buying on the Calgary Flames, looking to bet on them this week. As far as the sell team for this week, well, I got to give a shout out to my friend Carmine because, well, we are selling the Buffalo Sabres. It's been a great team for them, a great year for them. They've cashed all kinds of underdog plus money tickets, but now they find themselves in a situation where their next few games against the Maple Leafs, against the Lightning, the Panthers, the Bruins, it's just not a recipe for success. I see this Buffalo team. They're trying to make that wild card spot. They're trying to push for the playoffs, but I just think they might be a year or two away, and the schedule is catching up to them. So we're going to sell Buffalo, bet against them this week, and we're going to bet on the Calgary Flames. Carm, I'm letting the schedule do the talking for me, man. It's not my fault. I'm just following along with these schedules, trying to find these teams to bet against, and your Sabres have been good, but I don't know about this week.
Can't believe you, man. I am so disappointed in you, man. How do you do this? How do you do this, man? It's literally like setting my alarm. Whatever. You sold the Sabres.
Like
Come on, man. Come on. No, it's I do this thing really quickly when I'm out with my buddies. If one of them goes to the bathroom and he leaves his phone there, my voice is similar to theirs in such where I'll be like, "Hey Siri," and then I see the Siri thing, and I'm like, "Please set an alarm for 3 a.m., 4 a.m., and 5 a.m." And then before they come back, Siri has set the alarms, and then they literally get these wake up calls at 3 a.m., 4 a.m., and 5 a.m. Their alarm goes off on their phone, right? So, yeah, I'm a bit of a
savage.
dick. What can I tell you?
That is savage.
But listen, and we're all going out on Tuesday night to watch the Leafs and the Sabres. So we'll see how that first sell on the Sabres goes for you on Tuesday night. The Leafs couldn't beat Chicago in Chicago yesterday, so we'll see what they can do against the Sabres on Tuesday night.
So that just means that they're going to be motivated. They're going to be so excited to go and to play Buffalo. But let's jump into the best bet segment. We appreciate everybody that's joining us here on a Monday here on Wager Talk TV. Don't forget to hit the bell, be notified when we do go live here, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. All kinds of great content every single day here on the channel. Carm, let's go to you for your best bet today, and remind folks at home what you have going on for clients.
Yeah, so an early card is up right now in NHL. Those games go off at 1 o'clock and 4 o'clock, I believe, or 1 o'clock. And I will have a card up for later. I'm just going to go through some player props as well, too. I want to mention the 6 and 60 on Friday went 5 and 1. So those three names I picked out or our producer picked out, that all seemed like Irish names. You guys all won a Puck Time shirt. So I'm going to do another one this coming Friday. So go to the Puck Time WT Twitter account, send me a message there, and I will get your addresses and have them sent out tomorrow. Post offices are closed today for the holiday. Now, as far as our show best bet, Andrew, I'm going to kick it off with the Winnipeg game tonight. I'm going to take Pierre-Luc Dubois, someone you've made money off of this season, over 2.5 shots, minus 135. Since the turn of the new year in 2023, his shots on goal has had a pretty big uptick. He's averaging 3.42 shots per goal and has gone over this number in 13 of the last 19 games. We're going to go for 14 in 20 after tonight. So Pierre-Luc Dubois, over 2.5 shots on goal, minus 135. Here's your show best bet.
He's a money-making machine as far as the shots on goal department. I look at that as well. Good chance I'll be betting that myself here, especially if you're on a card and you've been crushing these prop bets. For me, guys, I really do like this card. Of course, you got a lot of my opinions here on the show, but you can head over to wagertalk.com and get all of my client plays. And again, remind you guys at home about that promo code PT100. Take $100 off an NHL season pass. That does include the playoffs as well. My best bet, well, we're going for a big underdog to start off this week. Karma's a player prop on this game. I'm going to go with the money line with the Winnipeg Jets on the money line at plus 155. Catching the New York Rangers, their first game back after a successful road trip. Hopefully, catch the Rangers feeling a little bit too good about themselves, and we get a very motivated Winnipeg Jets team here off a tough loss yesterday. Still very well rested. They haven't been playing too many games. They will get the job done tonight and cash us a big plus money ticket. So I'll take the Winnipeg Jets, guys, on the money line. Carmine Bianco with Pierre-Luc Dubois over his shots on goal, over 2.5 at minus 135. We appreciate all of you guys for watching. We're back here tomorrow with Don Buster right here on Wager Talk TV.
Each and every Monday is $9 Monday at both wagertalk.com and sportsmemo.com, when all daily picks packages are priced at only $9, including 5% best bets, normally priced at $35. As an added bonus, any picks packages loaded early for Overnight Tuesday or action during the week will also be priced at $9 until midnight on Monday. So make sure to take advantage of getting these $25 and $35 picks for only $9 before the clock strikes 12 and they return to regular price.